Hello and welcome back to the Just Show Up show. Today I am coming to you with something very interesting. I've had a very interesting conversation yesterday with my friend, and I've been telling her, I haven't met her in a year, so I've been telling her about coaching and clients and the kind of things that I help people with. And one of the things that I realized, I never talked very much about this channel, but now today as I was tracing back, thinking about a friend that we have in common and what kind of things I would potentially recommend to him. And I also realized like how similar his story is to mine. And I think that the biggest theme in my story was just this feeling of kind of wasting my 20s. And just feeling like the whole premise is, and I know this in myself, I know this was for sure my story, and I see it in other people, I see it in clients, I see it when I coach. It's just this like absolute unwillingness to cut your losses. People feel so bad. So basically, like artists, poets, and philosophers, I think, have it the worst, because when you go to uni, you're told that you're a freaking genius, and you're just like being built into this like very kind of critical superiority where you just feel like, oh, the normals, like the normals just don't know any better, they don't have good taste, like they're not critical of what's going on, they're blind. And so you go through life, thinking that like you are so smart and you see things that other people don't see, but then at the same time it also kind of paralyzes you, and it makes you not really take your life very serious, because it's like you're a whole lot of talk, but what are you actually going to do about it, right? And many of us, myself included, like now when I think back, I'm like, fuck, like I spent all my 20s just pretending, and we've been talking very much about how, like life can start to feel very oppressive, like as long as you're not really fully living your life, like your values, your dreams, you're actually like taking action to be moving closer to your dreams, you're gonna feel that all these other things that are taking up space, that people feel that they didn't choose that. And it's funny how we can think that, but it's like you are choosing everything that you're not saying no to. You are choosing. And last week I was listening to Chelsea Handler's podcast, and she was talking about that too. She was saying it very, very well. She was like, you have to tell the universe what you don't want. You have to say no. And I think most of us are just very afraid of saying no, and that also ties into the whole people-pleasing problematics because we're just not used to kind of claiming things. And I think when you live in a small country, or like you feel like you're very much part of society, you kind of just have this like abstract feeling of things being impossible. And I think that's why one of the things that I was just thinking, like I would suggest to this friend, is to actually go online, and like if you can't find people in your immediate surrounding that have the same dreams and visions. And sometimes the problem is like, one thing that I see very much is like people, they get to their 30s, like early 30s, and then they're like, oh my god, like I want this thing. Like clearly people who find life oppressive are people who feel a lot of potential in themselves, and I think that's what makes people really suffer and feel a lot of pain, is because they just feel like they're living life but they're not living their purpose. And that just feels really painful. Like I know it myself. And then it's like, if other people ask you, well, what do you really want to do? Most of us kind of just shut down. It's like, like you're just kind of like scared of actually even like claiming what it is that you want in words, because you're scared that if you say it, you're gonna feel very deeply, deeply disappointed if you don't get it, and then like there's this other fear of like how other people see us, right? So you're scared of other people thinking that, like you're a loser, or like you're just kind of like your head in the clouds and like you have all these dreams but then you failed. And I think that's the biggest fear that people have, is like people are like so freaking scared of failing at their dreams that they end up finding it much safer to not even try at all. So they end up like spending 10 or 20 years or 30 or 40 just keeping the dream. Like, it's so safe to just keep it in your imagination, and you're just kind of like thinking about it, right? You're in your dreams and you're daydreaming about how wonderful it would be, you know, if you were an artist, or if you made that movie, or, you know, like whatever people want to create, especially like creative things. It's so much easier to write an amazing book in your imagination than it is in real life, right? And then people don't want to be beginners. And when I say they, I mean we, because obviously like I was in that same boat for a very long time. And I think the thing that really needs to be done that would help so many people, if we could just all collectively get to the point where we're like, okay, cool, I accept that I was not taking my dream serious, you know, like I accept every way in which I failed my dream. And that, I think, is a really hard responsibility to take, and that's why people prefer to just suffer. But then the thing is, like, what are you really gonna do about it? You know, like, you can't actually seriously like continue living life that way, right? You're gonna get to your 40s or 50s and 60s, and then it's just gonna be worse, right? It's like, you know, time is never gonna go backwards. You're just gonna get older and more frustrated and more bitter about everything that you didn't do. And I was thinking that one of the best, greatest tools, which I have not yet talked about on this channel, but today clearly is the day to talk about it. One of the things that I feel like really started changing everything for me when I was kind of stuck in that life that I felt like I was not choosing, which is clearly ridiculous because I was, you know, like everything that you're not saying no to, you are choosing. I read the book, Marie Kondo, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up Your Life, I think it's called like that. And I did not think much of it. And I read it, and it blew my mind. It blew my mind into so many little pieces. But basically the idea is that you just take inventory, and it's like you touch every single little thing. Like, it starts from your clothes, like you put all your clothes into one gigantic pile, and I've done this like 3 or 4 times in my life so far. And I feel like every time when I do it, the point of it is not the material stuff, and I think it is, that's why the material stuff, especially if you start living you know, a very comfortable life, it can start to feel very oppressive. And like Fight Club talks about this, right? Like in the beginning, where there's this like IKEA catalog life, and it's like you become a consumer, and deep down what all of us really want, you know, and that's what we see in the movie Soul, like where I get a lot of my intelligence from. Like, now I realize, like, that movie just, oh my god, like it's like a conceptual framework that I use to think about how, you know, like human beings, souls coming to planet Earth, purpose, like that is real. Like, we don't just come here to live. Like, maybe some people do, but I feel like there's many people, like if now I walk down the streets of pretty much any city and you start to see people, like their faces, you know, and like I generally, because like I'm vibing so high nowadays, I'm just like walking around with like a permanent grin on my face, and I notice like people are just not even receptive. Like, they're just like real ghosts, you know, like you won't even like get a smile back. Like, people just think you're insane, which I get, but at the same time, like, that is so sad. And on the way out here, I had a really nice conversation with a taxi driver. He was from Tanzania, and we were talking about how in the UK, like, there's no social life, you know, like everybody's so isolated, and like people don't like look at each other, people don't smile, you know, people are not really living their life, you know, and there's no sense of community, there's no like sense of aliveness. So I think what coaching can really do is that it's like a transferring of like aliveness from one person to another person. It's like it can really kind of be like, you know, the match that ignites that person to kind of be like, okay, cool, like I can dare to entertain my dreams. Like, I can dare to dream. And so many of us don't allow ourselves because this abstract idea of failure is there, which it's funny because the things that are really needed to get you to the dream that you really want are all these tiny little steps. And every one of these tiny little steps is actually like completely risk-free. Like for you to make like 1 page of something, there is no risk in it. And I battled with this for so long. Like I was creatively blocked for all of my 20s pretty much, you know, and then only when the pandemic hit, I did my creative unblocking. And I just, now looking back, I cannot believe that it took me like 2 years of like showing up to the page or the canvas or whatever and just feeling like so scared of it. Like I would feel like it's so risky to touch it because it's like, oh, if I make something that I hate, then it's like a confirmation that I'm not capable of creating something that I like, and that like I have no talent and that I suck and like that it's never gonna get better, which is just not true. Like once we get relaxed, and I think that's the other problem, it's like people, they think that ideas and abilities come from within this like human flesh body, but it's just not the case. Like ideas and abilities and skills come from obviously repetition and just like showing up and doing the work, which we all don't fucking want to do because we wish that we would just like, you know, show up one day and be, you know, like a highly skilled genius. But unfortunately it doesn't work that way. But then the thing is, like, if you can actually get yourself to just show up and like do the smallest, tiniest thing, you know, like write 1 page or like, you know, draw 1 tiny little picture and just repeat it so that you can actually start getting relaxed. Because like when you are relaxed, that's when the, you know, the ideas and the skills and the knowledge and all the support are flowing through you. So this video basically is like 2 recommendations. One is watch the movie Soul if you haven't watched it yet, because it's just perfection. Like greatest movie ever. Not ever, but like they're starting to make some seriously good movies recently. Like that and Everything Everywhere All at Once is just like, wow, like we're living in good times nowadays. Like this is great. And then the other thing is like really Konmari, like it is life-changing. Like I know I have recommended it to a couple of my friends and they're like, oh my god, like this like kitschy, stupid, self-helpy looking book, like please don't make me read this. And like they'll like touch it and just be like, ew, you know. But I swear to God, it just works, you know, because like once you go through every single object in your house and you examine it, you know, you touch it and you're like, does this bring joy? What you're actually asking is like, is this part of me? Does this have anything to do with me? Because sometimes like we get a lot of things entering our life, you know, in ways that it's like, well, this isn't really mine, you know. Like you go shopping and it's like, for example, like this shirt, which is like, it makes it look like I only have 1 shirt on this channel, but this is mine, you know what I mean? Like I could go out there and shop for all kinds of things that are not me and are not mine, and I'll just be like, oh, okay, like I like the 70%. But if we can actually create a life where everything that is part of our lives is of our choosing and is like 100% you, and if that means that you wear only 1 shirt on your YouTube channel, then that's what it is. But that's like, that is your life. And that is why now I vibe so freaking high, because I'm so freaking happy, because everything that is part of my life is of my choosing. It's like I'm not on auto, you know, autoplay, what is it called? I'm just like, I'm making my own choices. You know, every choice has a trade-off. So if you choose comfort and security and stability, then that's what you get, and it has its own beautiful side benefits, but at the same time it has trade-offs, you know. And then if you choose to really like fully live your life, like it might also have a trade-off of kind of being like poor for a little while, or like you might be in discomfort for a little while. But it just, I think really like the way to constant continuous happiness is that you are moving towards where you want to be going. Like you need to be living your purpose, even if that means like taking the smallest, tiniest steps. Like even if that means like you know, you have a full-time job and like within the week, you know, you only have like 1 hour of time to do your writing or your creativity or building your business or whatever it is, that is gonna keep you alive, and that is gonna make you not be a ghost, you know, because like if you have no vision, if you have no idea where you're going, and in Bali what they do actually, like they'll be asking you like where are you coming from and where are you going, and that makes sense because like as human beings we need to have a vision, we need to have a sense of purpose, we need to have a sense of like, I know what's going on, you know, like we all want to have a certain degree of control, because otherwise you just feel like you're at the mercy of everything else, and you just feel like, you just start to feel like you're not important, you start to feel like you don't matter, you start to feel like you're not supposed to occupy space, you start to feel like, you know, what, like everything is just gonna feel like too much, you know, it's gonna feel like, whoa, like the outside world is like so crazy and so unpredictable and I don't know what's going on, and like how can I navigate this thing, right? So I think like really like the two most important things is like you need to have a vision and you need to like figure out what is the freaking smallest step, and I promise you that if you're taking the smallest little step and when you start to engage, even if it's like for me for example it's drawing, you know, like when I am sitting down and I'm actually just like having like drawing time with no purpose, like I'm not trying to create a product, I am just like engaging with it, I'm just like being in that state of mind, in that space, playing, you know what I mean? Like we need to play, we need to have fun, we need to be a little bit more like children, you know. And I know it's really difficult when you're an adult and you feel like you have all these responsibilities, but that's actually when you need it more than ever. And whenever I suggest any kind of play in my coaching, people are just like, oh, please don't make me play, you know, like that's not serious, like don't make me do that. But it's like that is what we really, really need, you know, like we are not rational creatures, we have a soul and our soul needs to be nourished. We're not designed in this way, and the indigenous cultures know it, you know. The indigenous cultures have us dream, they have us dance, they have us perform ritual, they create meaning around our lives, and like modern life these days is not having any kind of meaning going on. It's like people are just like made to feel like numbers, they're made to feel like disposable at work. So we need to kind of reclaim our power back and start to rebel in small little private creative acts every day. Bam. All right, that's it for today. Coolio. I'll see you again next week, and next week will be, we don't know where we'll be, but anyways, thank you. This was fun. I like really unloaded something today. Thank you. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next week. Bye.